let's keep going.
All right. Thank you, Chairman McMillan. This time, the Retention and Recruitment Committee recognizes Mitch King, and he's with the Archery Trade Association, and he's going to talk about community shooting ranges.
Good, Chairman Schuster. Just real quickly, Mitch is another one of those people that I've known for quite some time. His career with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, later on working with the Federal Aid Division and helping dispense money throughout the place, and now he retired from there and back into the Archery Trades Association. He's just like the Energizer's bunny. He just keeps on coming back around. And I don't want to go into a long introduction because he's got to drive back to Atlanta this evening. But anyway, we're really glad to have Mitch here, and we've worked with him on a number of different occasions in trying to establish archery ranges and with some of the things that have been done on a national basis. But I'll let him explain all that. Just wanted to let you know that he's been a friend for quite some time.
Thank you, Ed. And yes, Tennessee's almost home to me. Besides being born and raised in eastern Tennessee and East Kentucky, up around Jellicoe and Middlesboro, Kentucky, I spent a good 8 years of my career with the Fish and Wildlife Service in Cookeville. And after 31 years of the Fish and Wildlife Service, sitting through the last 2 hours of your meeting, sometimes it makes me smile that I'm retired now. You all have some tough decisions to make, and I feel for you on that. But I'm in a much more relaxing spot now in my lifetime, and working with as the Director of Government Relations for the Archery Trade Association. I live in Helena, Montana, and I get to fly out of there and around all the country talking to people about the association, about getting kids shooting bows and arrows and sort of the fun things in life. And I was glad we were here. We had a board meeting here in downtown Nashville, and it just finished up at noon today, and I was glad I had the opportunity to talk to Ed and spend a few minutes talking to you all. So I wanted to briefly tell you a little bit about the Archery Trade Association. As you can see here, we were established in 1953. It is the largest archery and bow hunting trade association. We've got 500 plus manufacturer members, which for the most part is about anybody and everybody that makes anything related to bow hunting. We've got 1,200 or more retailers. The number varies from year to year, but this is primarily the larger archery pro shops. There are a whole lot of other archery shops that are smaller, that usually belong to a buyer group or some other organization that is a member of the Archery Trade Association. We own the big show that happens every January, where they all get together and have a good business-to-business show. And this coming January the 7th, 8th, and 9th, I believe it is, right here in downtown Nashville, we will we'll bring our show to Nashville, and it should be quite a time at the Music Center, brand new Music Center. We're anxious to have any of you that would like to come. Just get in touch with me through Ed, and we'll make sure you can get in the door. And although it is a closed show, it's not open to consumers. You can certainly see the breadth of our industry. We dedicate all the proceeds from the show to promoting archery and archery participation and bow hunting participation. Here in Tennessee, we have 68 members. 50 of those are retailers, 8 are manufacturers, and you can see the other numbers. And I do have, and I've given it to Michael May, and he said he would make sure you get it as a list of all of our members in Tennessee. And I would urge you to reach out to them, talk to them, and I'll make the offer now to Ed at any time he wants to have a meeting with our members to discuss issues associated with bow hunting, archery, or whatever, archery recruitment. I can help set that up, and we can have those kinds of conversations. These guys are all business people. Some of them, well, they all have opinions, but most of the time, my experience is while they may express an opinion to you, and they will also provide solutions and offer to help you. They want to see solutions. They have a lot of people coming through their doors, And the more they know about your agency and your agency's decisions, the better for you, because then they can be more informed when people ask questions about what you're doing. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking to you about our strategy for archery and bow hunter recruitment. And as you can see here, there's a lot on this slide, but our number one goal, of course, is to increase archery and shooting and bow hunting across the country. Our members tell us they want us to do two things. One is to put on a great show, and two is to take the proceeds from that show and get kids shooting bows and arrows. And this sort of step-by-step approach that you see here with the arrows at the bottom is, you see the first set of arrows here, it says state wildlife agencies. That's who we work with. You know, we developed this strategy when I came to the Archery Trade Association. We recognized that it's pretty, I guess, common sense for us to work with state wildlife agencies. Number one, we survive with the agency. You guys want more people hunting. If more people don't hunt, they don't sell equipment. So we're connected at the hip there. And number two, frankly, our folks provide $44 million a year in excise taxes, and it goes straight to the state wildlife agencies. And we hope that we can help influence how those monies are spent as well when it comes to archery and bow hunter recruitment. One of the things that we try to emphasize, and to not put all of the workload on just the state wildlife agencies, we try to sort of follow the model that NASP has followed, for the National Archery in Schools program has followed, is get other people to actually do your work for you. Don Crawford doesn't go out and teach kids to shoot archery. He's got a whole group of volunteers working with state school departments, and they're the ones that actually teach the kids. I suggest we should do the same thing in parks and rec departments, utilize clubs across the country, and try to build archery as a community-based sport. And to do that, we refer to a recruitment pathway quite a bit. And I use the word pathway because I don't think recruitment is a single action. I think a lot of people think if we have an event and we invite kids to it, we've recruited. And I think you've got to think about recruitment as a long-term process that starts with introducing kids to shooting bows and arrows or shooting guns, any kind of activity like that. Really work at the introductory level, but keep them involved until they finally gain the passion of hunting, and then figure out ways to keep them involved further. And I got this sort of three-stage process that we work through, and it starts with that introductory level. It works on through advancement activities to keep them excited, and then the retention activities are just how do you keep hunting and shooting front of mind for them. We really, as you saw with the Parks and Recreation Department piece of what I was talking about earlier, we focus on a community-based effort. We don't want this to be a highly intensive effort where State Wildlife Agency has to be there all the time. If you think about ball sports, if you eliminated every government-funded effort to get that was supporting Little League, whether it be the Parks Department or whatever, you would still have kids playing ball because the community supports it. That's what we're after with archery, is trying to build that community-based structure. We focus a lot of our attention working with state wildlife agencies on that very basic introductory level. There are several programs that are tied into that introductory level. The National Archery in the Schools program, we've been a strong supporter of that program since day one. If you're out in California or down in Florida, there's the Olympic Archery in the Schools program, and there's a new program that we've been working with USA Archery on called Explore Archery that will help with our parks departments and recreation departments to get them more engaged, because bottom line is the NASP program, as good as it is, and I don't want anybody to walk away from here thinking that I'm not pro-NASP, because it is the best program I've ever seen for introducing kids to shooting bows and arrows. It is a 2 to 3 week program, except for the kids that are shooting in competitions. They get introduced, they get so excited, they go home and they say, Mom, I want to do some more of this, and if Mom can't find some place to do some more, and they just sort of fall off the screen. The first place mom calls is not going to be Bubba's archery shop. They're going to call their Parks and Recreation Department. They're going to say, do you have archery? Is there any way I can get involved in this? They may find a Joad Club, or they may find Bubba's archery shop, wherever it is. But if they can't find it at their Parks and Recreation Department, we're missing an opportunity. And I think we need to think about that when we talk about that introductory level recruitment. It's not what you guys do or what we can do. It's how can we together collectively get those parks departments ready to receive those kids that we've expended quite a bit of energy and resources in the NAS program to get shooting. And then we got to continue to work to try to move them along in the process and advance their skills and keep them along this pathway that I was talking about. And we've worked with USA Archery and others and our retailers to try to build more opportunities for shooting. Of course, the USA Archery program has the Junior Olympic Archery Development Program. There's a pretty good group of JOAD clubs here in Tennessee, not nearly as many as there should be. We've got a fantastic program that I'll talk to you briefly at the end of this presentation called Explore Bow Hunting that I hope we can get involved with you more on here in Tennessee. The Explore Archery program, as I talked earlier, we're developing and working on that. 4-H Scouts, we just need to reach out to all of those people, and we're doing everything we can do to try to get them more involved in that advancement stage. One of the problems I always find with some of our archery clubs is that they think they have to do all of the recruitment themselves, and they have to go out and find kids, and they have to figure out ways to keep kids involved. What I keep saying is that you need to find your niche along this pathway. Our parks departments and our schools are fantastic at getting kids introduced. Those kind of groups need to be more involved in, after they get introduced, giving them the next steps along that pathway. You never hear me refer to recruitment and retention, because I look at retention as just more steps along the pathway of recruitment. When folks get to a point where they've started developing the passion, all you need to do is keep them engaged. And there's a whole lot of clubs out there. I mean, wherever I live, I'm going to find the archery clubs in the community. We just need to make sure they're out there and keep getting them, keep folks engaged and excited about the sport. Bottom line is if we're successful with this recruitment pathway, we're going to have this self-sustaining archery and bow hunting community, and that's what we're really after. Now, the way we look at it, as you saw in that first couple of steps, the Wildlife Agency is our go-to. We're a group in my organization. I'm one of 4 people that work on this effort. And we can't be all over the country. We can't handle all the requests that might come from Tennessee. So we look to the Wildlife Agency to be sort of the leader. And if the Wildlife Agency can provide the leadership, our role is to help fill the gaps. What do you need? And Ed's got staff that are working on recruitment activities. My question and my request to him is, tell us what you need. Do you need us to build programs? We're building programs like Explore Bow Hunting, Explore Archery. We're helping helping to get instructors for archery certified, and so that people feel comfortable about shooting bows in a park environment. We're helping to implement programs like Explore Bow Hunting now that we've got it up and running, and we help in building archery parks. Either directly from us helping in the design and helping with funding issues for small archery shooting parks, or organizations like the Easton Sports Development Foundation, who sometimes contribute significant amount of dollars to larger archery parks and shooting facilities. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about one program that I'm pretty excited about. We've been involved with Explore Bow Hunting for about I guess it's been about 4 or 5 years now. We were in a development stage for quite some time. One of the things we found from our surveys of NASP kids is that they were very interested in bow hunting. There was like 56% of them said they would like to get involved more in bow hunting if the opportunity was there. But unlike my childhood, where I had a family member that could take me hunting and sort of teach me the ropes of hunting all around, a lot of these kids don't have that. So we started trying to figure out a way that we could develop a program that gave them the sort of basics of hunting, the things that my dad frankly taught me about hunting, how to get close to wildlife. This program, when I first saw it, I said, this is going to be a little hokey. I don't know whether this is really going to work or not. But we had some really smart folks, including some education professionals, get together, and they put together 22 very interactive activities that are now a part of this program. And the kids just love it. They get engaged in it. They're out building camouflage blinds. They're out making turkey calls and understanding what certain turkey calls mean and why animals react to turkey calls and why they react to certain scents and all those kinds of things. It's just a really collection of really good activities. And we found out it can be used in parks, it can be used in schools, it can be used by some retailers that have, like if you go to a Bass Pro on a Saturday morning during the summer, there's usually some activity going on for kids that's a couple of hours long. These are the kinds of activities that just fit that bill perfectly. We got quite a bit of good quality material with this. We worked hard for about 4 years to make it work. And then we said, okay, we're ready to roll it out. And we went to the Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies, and they helped us funding-wise. We're putting about $500,000 a year in it for the last year and this coming year. And the Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies gave us a couple of $100,000. And we're now going back to the state agencies, and we're saying, here it is. This is ready to go. We can help you. We can help you with a workshop to train people. It doesn't take much training to do it, but we can help get people trained up. If you can put a group of 20 parks or school people in a room, we can get them trained up. We originally were worried about this, and we didn't know whether the NASP program schools would really buy into this because it had hunting sort of tied to it. But what we found out is that when we give it to the states and they start trying to figure out what works best in their state, the last numbers that we just showed our board yesterday were that 87% of the programs that states are presenting Explore Bow Hunting in are school-based programs, and they're kids that are shooting NASP, or in some cases they're agricultural schools that they're seeing a real value in this. It's a really good a program for that purpose, and I would offer that to you guys as well. We're rolling it out. We've got some state money. We've got a lot of our money into it, and if Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency is interested, it's there. I urge you to take a look at it. If you go to our website, you can see more about it. Here's some of the stuff that's in the equipment kits. This is the teaching trunk that goes along with it. There's a game here that's standing up here called Whitetail. The Whitetail game. It is a very well done board game. Reminds me of the game of life that you might have played when you were younger. And kids are enjoying playing this board game, and parents are enjoying playing it with their kids. And that game is going to be you'll start seeing that on some retail shops at some point in time. But with that, I think I'll stop. And I know it's a lot to digest, but I've given each one of you a card. And if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. If you lose the card, Ed knows how to get a hold of me, and I appreciate any questions you have here and any questions you might have later, and look forward to working with you any way we can. And I would invite you again, don't forget our show next January. There'll be a lot of stuff. You'll be seeing it in the papers, I'm sure, here, but if you want to get in and walk the floor a little bit, let me know. We can get you in, okay? Questions?
Thank you, Mitch. Yeah, I've gone to ATA many years, and it's incredible. If you love to bow hunt, everything is there, or just
all
hunt.
the toys.
So it's a lot of fun. But we just really appreciate you coming today. You know, we're very excited about the momentum that the Archeries in the Schools programs is taking on here in Tennessee, and Don Crawford's doing an excellent job on that with his team. And I'm excited about the Explore bow hunting. I think
Yeah.
it would fit well with that, and it gives the older kids something to grow into.
You bet.
And like you said, you have to have that for them to continue, so
You bet.
great job. But anybody else, questions or comments?
Like-
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Has the legalization of crossbows, how has that affected the industry and the retention of older hunters and older guys getting back into bow hunting, that kind of thing? Do you have any empirical data or opinion or whatever about that?
I always stay away from the opinion because everybody thinks that the Archery Trade Association, while we do have crossbow members that are manufacturers of crossbows, we've been accused quite a bit of being pro-crossbow and really pushing hard. What I've been from the beginning on this issue is pro-facts. And there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of anti-crossbow discussion that, I'm sorry, it's just rhetoric, it's not fact. And that's the point I've made on numerous times when I've talked to wildlife agency directors is, here are the facts. You know, we took some, there's a lot of technical information about crossbows and what they are capable of doing, and I just want state wildlife agencies to make decisions based on the facts. And unfortunately, a lot of the anti-crossbow discussion is rhetoric. Now, it is, I think, pretty common sense that it does help with retention. As guys get to be about my age, pulling back is getting a little bit tougher on a lot of us, and anybody with injuries is finding it to be tough. I've not seen any indication in areas where you've got plenty of targets, deer or whatever you're shooting at. I've not seen any indication that the population is declining because of crossbows. And as far as the industry, it's just been unbelievable what's been going on for the last 3 years as more and more states are sort of analyzing the facts, and their commissions and directors are making fact-based decisions and deciding to put crossbows in as legal equipment. The industry is just going nuts, frankly. And I mean, I can get you a bunch of PowerPoint type information from, if you're interested in anything. Yes. Mhm. Yeah. Anything else?
Anyone else?
Well,
Thanks, Mitch. Safe travels down to
Right.
Atlanta tonight.
Thank you, and remember, you've got or you will have the list of our members. And I would urge you to go out and if you're driving around and get a chance, stop by and just introduce yourself. All right? Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Appreciate it.
I just want to make a little comment. I guess it was last week, Commissioner Schuster and I and the I&E staff went out to the dedication of the new Williamson County Community Shooting Range, the new archery range that they just built. They have plans that they would like to be involved in another one. And Mitch and the ATA, actually, they not only help agencies, they also help fund local grants to a lot of communities, and that they stand ready to do that and have done that over a number of years. And I just wanted to publicly thank him for that, and the ATA as well. I know we don't have time to talk about it now, but one of the things he told me the other day was really interesting is the impact that the film industry has had on archery sales and archery involvement. The films like The Hunger Games and others that have really made a difference. But anyway, just want to say publicly thanks, Mitch. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Director Carter. Chairman McMillan, due to time constraints, Don Crawford will give his update presentation tomorrow.
Okay, then we'll move to the Budget Committee. Chairperson Jeff Griggs.
Mr. Chairman, first person I'd like to call up is Alan
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman. I'm here today to request, again, some money for the Carroll County Range. I think most of you were all at the range. One or two of you might not have been when we met a couple of months ago and had a chance to see that facility. And you you saw the trap range is in good shape, and you saw that there's ample opportunity to expand a little bit, and we're here to request some funding that's expanding a budget. It'll be federal dollars of $120,000, of which that'll all be federal money. The Carroll County group will have to come up with $40,000 match, which shouldn't be any problem for them, and it will go toward completing the rifle range, the pistol range, the archery range, and some stormwater drainage stuff required by TDEC for the facility. This should be the last time we ask for money for Carroll County. We made it clear to them that they don't need to come back and ask for any more, and they agreed. So we'll see how well they hold up to that bargain. But
Is this part of this money going to retire the skeet building
anyway, we're making a request of a budget expansion of $120,000 to the 2013-14 budget year.
At this time, I'd entertain a motion of the rec. Okay, I've got a motion that's been properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Clayton's not on. He can't do it.
Who seconded that?
Clayton's not on the thing.
Okay, all right. Okay,
Clayton.
all right. Now it's been properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Not those all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Budget expansion, $120,000 for FY 2013-14 Carroll County Shooting Sports Park passes. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Next person up, Bill Reeves, Chief of Bioversity. Mr. Bill, you have our attention, sir.
Chairman Griggs, I need your input. I have about a 10-minute presentation that I can reduce to 5, depending on how you want to. Okay. I think I know where that came from. Okay, so I'm going to cut to the chase. I had a little background information about what these grants are and all this kind of stuff. Suffice it to say, this is all federal money to expand the budget by. We'll go down here to, yeah, this is the slide I wanted to go to. So in section 6, that you don't really know what section 6 is because that was the previous slides, but in the 13-14 budget, for the current year's allocation, for that 13-14 year allocation, we need to expand it by about $233,000. That's all federal money. And over a period of years, and I don't really know how many years, we've accumulated a backlog of money that we didn't spend of $308,820, and we need to incorporate that as well for a total of a little over $541,000. And another source of federal money, state wildlife grants, we need to expand the budget by $302,000. Now, that's not the total amount of federal of state wildlife grant money that we get. It's up around $830,000. But the other part is already in the budget in the form of salaries, about $500,000. This is the kind of projects that this Section 6 money is spent on. They're all endangered species type of projects. I don't know if you can read that from there. I can just barely read it. The state wild question? Oh, okay. The state wildlife grant projects are set up in these categories, which all involve our people. And the biggest change is the second from the bottom for a large contract for the Nature Conservancy to lead our revision of the plan that we operate. It's like a strategic plan revision. And we don't have the staff to do that, and they helped us out with the first plan in 2005, and we want to incorporate them in this activity for the 2015 plan. So that's the request. And I'll back up if you want to see the money again, or if you're okay with it, or whatever.
I got a question. Am I allowed to speak even though I'm on the committee? Okay. Is this one-time money? Are these one-time monies, the grant?
No, we get an annual allocation of Section 6 money every year and an annual allocation of SWIG money every year.
So you're
So
guaranteed,
I'll come
It's
back next
reoccurring.
year this same time and do this all over again.
If you go back to that money allocation, the $308,000, go back one more, the old accumulated monies, and you don't, where did that come from?
We have projects that we do that we just don't use up all the money. And so it doesn't, in some cases, in some of these grants, the money reverts back to a federal pile and then gets divided out by.
Which was my next
that's
question.
the question I was gonna ask, is how do you keep that money if you don't spend it?
I don't really have an answer for that, Barry.
I
Do
can't
you?
imagine the federal government saying, yeah, just keep it.
Well,
Yeah.
some of this is older than 3 years, though.
And no, I don't have an answer for that either. We were kind of surprised by it when we started looking into it and asked the Fish and Wildlife Service, whatever happened to that money? And this is where, you know, we'll have one of these contracts with the university and they're gonna get $40,000 and they only bill us for 20, and so money's left over. It goes back several years, and they dug into their files and said they had not obligated that money to anyone else.
So it didn't
as far as
revert
they were
back to somewhere
concerned, we
else?
could still have it.
I'll be.
And in this Section 6 part particularly, we spend all of that money in grants that we do to somebody else. So there's a federal match required here, but the grantee makes the match. We don't make the match on that.
I got you. Thank you.
Is any of this, do we have to employ new people to do this work? For instance, money spent on salaries?
Yeah, that's the Section 6, the state wildlife grant money.
That they are now
We have-
TWRA employees?
Right, the species survey and the non-game planning revolves around one person in each region that does that work.
And that's all federal money that's paying their
except
salaries?
for the match part.
How much is the match?
Well, it depends. Sometimes it's 65%, like in the first one. The second one, because it is planning, somebody said that was better at 75%. So
So how much money is this gonna cost the agency to take this $800,000? How much is it gonna
I
cost us?
knew you were gonna ask that, and I sat there at
Well, you
my
should have
desk
put that
and
in your program.
calculated that up. But I did it at a 65% level, and some of these are 25%, so it's actually less than this, but it's about $400,000.
That's coming out of license dollars.
Correct. And you and I both still feel the same way about that as we always did.
So for us to get this 800, we gotta put up 400.
And then we keep them, there's no termination of that employee. Once that
That's what-
person's hired, they're hired, correct?
Right, they're a full-time state employee.
So when the federal money runs out, those people will still be employees of the agency, and we will continue to have to pay them without the federal money.
Well, that's a decision that the director would have to make, I think, because like the biggest part of that money is federal money. And if that were, and the SWIG money was the House of Representatives over the last 3 years has zeroed it out. The Senate has put it back in at some lesser amount. In 2010, we had $1.3 million in SWIG, and now we're down to $830,000.
How many licensed dollars are spent on non-game and endangered species?
That's it.
This is, 400,000 is just this one time. What's the annual budget?
Well, annually, yeah, $400,000 annually, roughly. In round
So
numbers.
the whole program, the whole non-game endangered species program is only, what, how much? The whole program,
whole
your whole budget,
federal-
or that whole budget for the agency's whole budget for non-game and endangered species, the annual budget?
Roughly a little over $1 million. $1.2 million.
Would you back up to, you had the slides that broke out the money. Would you back up one more slide that you said you wish we could look at?
Well-
And just let us look at it. That's,
Okay. From this point?
yes, sir.
Okay,
Go, is that one slide back?
that's one slide
That's
back
what I
right
wanna
there.
see. Thank you.
Budget expansion, $843,829. I have a motion to have a second. Motion been made and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Budget expansion, $843,829 FY 2013-14 statewide, and Section 6 grant passes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I think we've talked about it before, and at some point, Director Carter and Barry, I would love to have a workshop to dive into this in more detail. That was a heck of a lot of money we just approved. It needed to be approved, and I understand that. But we spent 3 hours talking about a season. And I believe this warrants more time overall, not necessarily this subject, but overall, we need to have, I would like to understand a little bit better about the budget, and if that can be a workshop prior to the next commission meeting, or whichever one you believe is appropriate, but soon. I don't want it to be a part of this meeting, and it'd be kind of a voluntary basis, but I'd like to understand this better, and I think there's some others that would as well.
We won't meet in July, will we? With everything on, go ahead, Director Carter.
We'd welcome that opportunity, Commissioner. We will be bringing the budget forward in August, so it would need, what you're asking would need to occur before the August meeting, and it can be as long as you want to involve it. The one you just went through, for instance, on Section 6 money and on SWIG money, are two very special pots of money, and they each have their individual requirements on matches and what you can use them for. For instance, on one of those, if a project falls through, you can utilize the money on something else as long as it's in the same area. On others, it has to be almost identical, and you may not be able to use it. So you go through that, and I would hate for you to think of it as a drain on the budget, but because, for instance, on Indiana bats, which is an endangered species, when we're going to do a piece of work, whether it's forestry or whatever else, and we have to meet all the federal guidelines of an endangered species. If that money wasn't there, we would still have to meet those guidelines, but because we get the Section 6 money on endangered species, we can utilize that money to match with whatever it is. Some of it goes through other organizations and some of it the agency, but it's utilized to enhance the budget to do work that we would have to do either way. So it's not really a drain on the budget, but really it enhances what we have. But we'd be glad to go through that to whatever extent you wanted to look at it.
Director Carter, and I want to be clear to everybody, including folks that may even be listening to this. How you all have managed our budget is absolutely remarkable. And it's about as frugal gets. And there's no way in heck that if we took 3 days to go through this, that we would understand all the facets, but, at a time that would work for you all and for the other commissioners before we dive into the budget, just to be able to have a little bit better understanding as to the weavings of this. Are there any other commissioners that would want to be about that? I don't want to
Director Carter,
steamroll
did you
this.
say it needed to be prior to the August meeting? Because we don't meet in July, correct?
We don't meet in July. We'll, the same time we bring forth all the other things that you heard today, we'll also be bringing forth the budget.
And if I'm the odd duck in this, and no pun intended on what we've been talking about today, then I'll come see you all. But if there's a chance to get whoever wanted to come prior to it, that's all I'm trying to throw on the table.
We traditionally always get the budget committee and meet with the budget committee prior to the commission meeting, and it's a fairly long process. But, you know, it's open obviously to any commissioners that want to be there, and the chairman of the budget committee will obviously give us that direction.
I'll tell you what to do. You and I will get together after the meeting, and we probably come up with a possible date that the budget committee can meet. And if there's any other commissioners that want to attend, that will be fine. We'll come up to a day prior to that.
Thank you to you both. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to help me.
I think last year it was just you and I, Commissioner Cannon, that attended the budget meeting, because we were up at the headquarters and we went over all those budget things, so I'm sure it'd be really helpful to everybody else.
What is our fiscal year? What is it running from?
July through June. Gordon, we've ran out of time for you. No, sir, I'm kidding. Come on up. As usual, we always save the best for last. No, no need for any applause for Gordon.
Thank you, Commission. Let me go across a couple of the little items we have today. Down in Cocke County, Rankin Bottoms Wildlife Management Area, we're partnering with the Conservation Fund to acquire about 800 and something acres of land there. When the property was surveyed, the acreage came in a great deal lower than what the property owner had anticipated, and the Conservation Fund has renegotiated, and it looks like that we'll be getting a below fair market value sale on that transaction. Moving on down to Fentress County, the Nature Conservancy is selling a Skinner Mountain for $1.7 million. There's only one small problem. There's a third party that's claiming mineral rights on this property. So we're working with the Nature Conservancy and the State of Tennessee's attorneys to figure out what the actual mineral disposition is on this property, and we'll proceed accordingly. Going down to McMinn County, we have a Calhoun work base that is a building that the state is purchasing, and it's actually in an industrial park in Calhoun, and the option has been signed, and this funds have been transferred for closing, and this should close out probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Montgomery County, Bellamy Cave, 5.3 acres from the Nature Conservancy. We have received our appraisals, and the reviews and options have been prepared for acquisition of that property. Moving to White County, there's a transaction with Hampton's Crossroads that's with Walmart. This is a mitigation land of 12.58 acres. That's a gift. The deed's been prepared and sent to the closing agent, and this will be closed out probably within a week or so. Then we have one new transaction. There's a new map in your folder in the back in Weakley County for Bean Switch Refuge. We have a gentleman that owns 1 acres in the middle of our Bean Switch Refuge, and he's wanting to do an equal value exchange for land that is adjoining, but it's actually on the border of the Bean Switch. So we'll be able to take an in-holding out of the middle of our property to solve a management problem. That's all I have today, and If you have questions.
I
I'll be
do have a
happy to-
question. On the Calhoun track, it's a 6/10 of an acre, and it doesn't appear that we got anything else around it, or it's not marked. Why are we buying a half an acre?
It's a work base. It's a concrete block building for, to store our equipment in.
Okay, all right.
He doesn't have any more questions.
Does anyone else have any more questions? Anybody from the audience? Chairman, back to you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Chairman Griggs.
It's time to go home.
Where are you at, telling me or asking me? Oh. Director Carter, do you want to address the commission? Okay, unless there's any other business, then we'll stand adjourned till 9 a.m. tomorrow. Denied.